Are you ready for more? Then, without further ado, please give a hearty welcome to Spyro the Dragon!
Hello again, this is Rafael Alejandro with my review of The Legend of Spyro, The Eternal Night by Sierra Entertainment. The Eternal Night is the second game in the Legend of Spyro series. The controls are almost identical to those in the previous game unless you're now playing the Wii version, but if you play both on the PlayStation 2, they will pretty much feel like the same game. Of course, when you begin this game, you won't have any of the powers you had at the end of A New Beginning. This syndrome is sometimes known as the Una Rule. As far as the story is concerned, Spyro losing his powers is explained by the fact that it took all his energy to defeat Cinder last time. Naturally, you must now reattain all your powers.
Because you're weak.
The movie aspect is still in place, with Elijah Wood and Gary Oldman returning as the voices of Spyro and Ignitus. We now also have Mae Whitman as Cinder and Billy West as Sparks, replacing David Spade. The voice difference probably wasn't a big deal, but if you played the games back to back like I did, it feels kinda funny when
What? Save the beast that's been trying to kill us?
becomes
What? Save the beast that's been trying to kill us?
Sparks is still the comic relief, and even though the actor has changed, Billy West's voice still works with the humor of the role. Also, Sparks is now a televangelist.
Come on, Spyro! Put that sorrow behind you and clap your hands with me! Let the joy come pouring down, rain on me!
The game begins by briefly retelling the ending of the previous one. In the next scene, all the main characters are back at the Dragon Temple, and Cinder has apparently been staying with them for a few weeks.
I've been only sort of half sleeping with one eye open.
There are some interesting parallels between the beginnings of these two games. Instead of Sparks trying to stop Spyro from leaving the home of the Dragonflies to go find where he feels he really belongs, Spyro tries to stop Cinder from leaving because she feels she doesn't belong with them. Both attempts are unsuccessful, and whereas Sparks follows Spyro in the daytime, Cinder runs off alone into the night.
Goodbye, Spyro.
This game doesn't begin quite as slowly as the last one. All of the controls are still explained within the game, but at least you can move around as soon as you gain control of Spyro. With Cinder gone, Spyro and Sparks naturally want to go back to sleep. Oh yeah, Spyro seems to have developed a bad case of narcolepsy. This is actually how the tutorials are done in this game. Instead of the Elder Dragons teaching you new powers through training at the Dragon Temple, you fall into these dream sequences where the mysterious voice helps you reawaken powers you've forgotten. In this first dream sequence, you also gain a new ability. By pressing L1, you can cause time to slow down. While this power is activated, Spyro's new time gauge is drained. This gauge refills automatically while not in use, so there are no new gems to worry about. They all fulfill the same purpose as in the last game. You will need to use this power to solve puzzles, make it across moving platforms, and to gain an advantage in battles, so it's really important to get used to using it. Speaking of platforms, this game has added a lot more platforming, so you'll quickly get used to double jumping and gliding while using your new time power. The other big change as far as mechanics is to your magic, which is a lot more varied than before. Your secondary attacks are no longer long-range breath spells. Instead, they are elemental melee attacks, which are a lot more useful most of the time. Your new fire melee is a burning dash attack, which is very helpful at the beginning of the game. Your new ice melee is a spinning tailblade attack, which lets you attack all around you like Link's sword spin. This ended up being the attack I used the most. You also get an electric attack that lets you spin around like the Tasmanian Devil, and an earth smash attack that also launches your enemies. Your primary breath spells have also diversified a bit. By tapping the square button while using your fire breath, you can shoot a long-range homing attack, so you can still attack from a distance. Also, you will need to use your ice breath to cross bodies of water by creating temporary platforms of ice to stand on. I like the setup of abilities a lot more this time around. Your air combo is also longer, so you can see more of your mid-air attacks in slow motion. The only thing I don't like is how your electric breath has changed. Now it shoots out a ball of energy, so you can't toss your enemies around with electricity anymore. You'll feel the platforming and action aspects a lot more in this game, but not so much the RPG aspects. Unlike the last game, you don't find a lot of blue gems until later in the game, so you need to rely a lot more on your various initial abilities instead of powering up your spells. The boss battles feel very different than in the last game. In A New Beginning, you're built up to be this special purple dragon, and you can eventually overpower your enemies with your magic. In this game, you're fighting creatures much bigger than you, and you cannot overpower them. The basic strategy for most of the difficult boss battles is as follows. Run around avoiding their attacks until they screw up and get themselves stuck somehow. While they're stuck, slow down time to maximize how long they're vulnerable. Attack them as much as you can before they break free. Repeat until they die. So you really don't feel as in control as you did before. You're in a bigger world with large creatures that want to destroy you for one reason or another, but you also run into creatures that want to help you.
These are dark times, but know this, you have allies.
So between the length and the amount of characters, this game does feel a lot more immersive than the last one. It's almost like A New Beginning as a whole was the tutorial for this game and the next. Now you've graduated, and you don't feel as powerful, but instead you realize that you're part of a much bigger game and story going on where both you and other characters serve a purpose. This game is definitely of more value than the last one, as it is significantly longer and you have more reason to replay it. When you complete the game, you unlock the Dragon Challenges, special stages where fights are set up with certain conditions, somewhat similar to the Battle Arena in Final Fantasy VII. By completing these challenges, you unlock the ability to turn into Dark Spyro during a replay of the game. Technically treated as a fifth element, your dark abilities make the game much easier your second time around. Having said that, I will point out that the first time around, this game is much harder than the last one. I was actually surprised by how hard the beginning of this game was, because the last one was so easy. You face a lot of enemies early on that keep charging at you. I was more surprised once I got about halfway into the game and realized that while it was still totally linear, it wasn't nearly as segmented and formulaic as the first game. So, should you play this game? I still feel that most people will enjoy playing A New Beginning at least once. However, with the added length and difficulty, Eternal Night is not for people looking for a short, easy game. While the camera is pretty good most of the time, there are a few points in the game where it's difficult to get a feel for how far away a platform is. You end up dying often and having to repeat certain parts over and over again. This is also true for the more difficult boss battles. Some enemies can knock Spyro out rather quickly if you're not careful. There were parts where the scenery confused me and I jumped onto a wall because it looked like a platform, or I jumped between two objects only to find out they form a transparent wall, and I ended up dying again. Still, there are a lot of games that are much harder than this. You need some patience to get through this game, but if you're used to playing difficult games, you'll enjoy it despite some frustrating moments. If you're an older gamer like myself, I would recommend taking your time to really get the most fun out of this game. It would take a lot more grinding to get through this game over a weekend, so it's not as good a rental. I don't recommend this game if you haven't played A New Beginning, or if you haven't played other difficult games. If you thought A New Beginning was too hard, don't play this game, it'll only frustrate you. If you enjoyed A New Beginning and you want a better challenge, or you think it could have been harder or darker, I recommend buying this game, since it'll allow you to take your time and it is of much greater replay value. For younger gamers, I highly recommend playing A New Beginning first before jumping into this one. While it has gotten darker, it is still kid-friendly and fantastic enough for anyone to enjoy. Over the course of the game, you fight a giant tree in a forest, you fight in an arena aboard a flying pirate ship, and you fly to a faraway island before narcolepsy sends you falling into the ocean. Don't worry, you're rescued by sea turtles.
I see turtles.
So, now that I've reviewed both of these games, naturally I would like to complete the trilogy. However, Dawn of the Dragon, the last in the Legend of Spyro trilogy, is still a new game, so it'll be a while before I can afford it. In the meantime, there are plenty of candidates for my next review, so expect to be seeing something different soon. After I play and review Dawn of the Dragon, I plan to follow it up with a Legend of Spyro retrospective, since I would like to discuss the story at greater length without spoiling it in these reviews. Thank you for listening, and happy gaming.